Well, this is part 3 for this 2011 BMW 535i. You have to watch part 1, 2, and 3, but again, basically real quick overview. This Valvetronic motor was internally shorted, taking the 5-volt reference down. But now we have another issue with the DME sending, there's supposed to be 3 phases of 12 volts going out to this. We only get 2 of the 3. From the DME, doing some troubleshooting. That part is in part 2 of the video series. You'd have to watch that. Bought a new computer from BMW is $2,000, plus you got to program it, code it, and adaptions and all that stuff. Well, I went to the junkyard and got a used one. I'm using my KT200 to read the flash, INT flash in double EEPROM. There's no EXT flash according to the KT200. That's the processor in there, but I'm reading the INT flash, the double EEPROM off this one. Ideally, what I would do is we would take the module off this one, which is mounted under the intake. See, I pull the intake off. Pull that one out. Read it like we're doing this, and then save that file and then write it back to this. But before I do all that, I'm reading the donor one and make sure I can read the donor one, and then I can write it back to the donor one just to make sure it works. Because there's different types of these. MEVD 17.2, Y, point G, point A. There's different ones. So I'm just using my KT200 to read that. There's Y, the famous racer. But yeah, we'll see how this reads, and then we'll write it back for the original one. And we got to talk to the customer if they want to go down the road of a used one or a new one. And we'd have to talk prices, obviously, for this used one, for cloning it, if that will work. Alright, so I read it, and now I'm writing the same file back to the donor to make sure it actually writes back. And it did. Now the checksum is red because it never supports a checksum feature when you do a write all. But it wrote back. I'll show you here. Write all, which is this one. Never checksum never supported for write all. Okay. This is what I'm gonna do when I clone it. Should tell me to keep the dashboard on once it connects to the internet. And I have to use this bench box as well. Keep the EC power on. So that's on. And it writes really quick, which I thought was kind of crazy. Turn the dashboard off and wait. Okay, then it's going to basically time out or power down. And writing's okay. So we need to talk to the customer and see if that's what they want to do as far as using these used module. Pull the one out of the car, read it, and then take that file and write it to this one.